Welcome to the deep dive. You've shared your sources, and we're diving deep to pull out the crucial insights you need to know.
Yeah, think of us as your shortcut, really. Getting you well-informed, sifting through everything to find, the important stuff.
Exactly. Today, our deep dive centers on, well, a chapter exploring those really initial but vital stages of a building project. We're talking programming and design.
Right. And our mission essentially is to unpack how a building goes from just an idea, a concept, to something tangible, a blueprint you can actually price and build from.
Perfect. And for you, our listener, the learner, maybe you're prepping for a project meeting, maybe you're just curious about how it all works.
Yeah,
We want to make this clear. Engaging.
no information overload, that's the goal. We're hoping for some aha moments as we sort of break down how that vision starts taking shape.
Okay, let's get into it. The chapter says after the owner gives the thumbs up post-feasibility study, we hit programming and design.
Yeah.
What's the big shift here? What actually changes?
Well, the shift is pretty fundamental. You're moving beyond if we can do this project
Right, the feasibility part.
to defining exactly what the project is and then how we're going to do it. The whole point now is turning that concept into real plans, specifications, stuff contractors can actually use to price it accurately.
Okay, got it. So step one is programming. The chapter really stresses this is owner-driven. What's the main goal there?
Programming, it's essentially the owner writing down what they need, all the requirements, the wishes captured in a written document, and they call it the program.
The program.
Yeah, and the chapter describes it as like a design compass for the architect. Think about it. A builder needs drawings, right?
Sure.
Well, an architect needs this program. They need that deep understanding of the owner's goals before they can even start drawing. It builds on the feasibility goals, but goes much deeper.
Right, capturing all those ideas, making them concrete. So what kind of information actually goes into this program? It sounds like it needs to be pretty detailed.
Oh, it is very detailed. The chapter lists quite a few things. First off, who's using the building, the number and type of users.
Like, are we talking young professionals, families with kids, maybe elderly residents?
Exactly. A retirement home has vastly different needs than, say, apartments for young single people or a school. Understanding the user, that directly shapes the design hugely.
Makes total sense. Different layouts, facilities needed, the whole package.
Yeah.
What else is key in the program?
Flexibility is a big one. Does the space need to adapt over time? Change uses, that gets considered.
Future-proofing it, almost.
Sort of, yeah. Then you get into the real specifics of the building itself. Size and types of rooms, how they relate to each other, adjacency requirements, what needs to be near what.
Okay, like the kitchen needs to be near the dining area, that kind of thing.
Precisely. And they even start thinking about preferred building materials this early.
Really? Even down to, like, brick versus vinyl siding at this stage?
Potentially, yeah. Or at least the general direction. And the program also covers any special requirements.
Special requirements. Like what?
Oh, could be anything. Security systems, how people move through the building that circulation IT needs, media setups.
Wow.
Also, operational goals, maintenance considerations, even thinking about replacing systems down the line.
Yeah, that's a lot.
Yeah.
It's not just about day one, it's the whole life of the building.
Yeah,
The chapter also mentions aesthetics, right? The look and feel.
absolutely. That's crucial. Things like, does the owner want lots of natural light, access to outdoor spaces? That gets defined here.
And sustainability, too, I saw. Energy efficiency.
Yes, very important. It can range from just a general goal, we want an energy-efficient building, to something really specific, like aiming for LEED certification.
LEED, right? Leadership in Energy and Environmental Design. The chapter had a note on that. What does LE actually look at? Remind us.
Sure. It's a voluntary rating system. It checks buildings on several fronts: energy use, water use, the site location itself, materials chosen, indoor air quality. Is pretty comprehensive.
So it's a way to measure how green a building is.
Essentially, yes. It's a framework for sustainable building practices. And going for edgy isn't just about the environment, It often drives efficiency, which can mean long-term cost savings, too. It's a smart way to approach it.
So if an owner wants that LED plaque, it needs to be spelled out clearly in the program. Makes sense. Now, for really complicated projects, labs, theaters, the chapter mentions programming consultants.
Right. For those super specialized buildings like labs or hospitals or performance halls, the owner might not have all the expertise needed to develop that level of detailed program.
Okay.
So programming consultants step in, Often they are architects themselves or have that kind of background. They bring specific knowledge about those complex building types.
You want someone who really gets the unique needs of, say, a high-tech lab environment.
Exactly. The chapter uses the Santa Rosa Junior College Library as an example to give a sense of the timeline, nearly 10 years for planning and programming.
10 years.
Wow.
That really shows the depth involved.
Yeah, it does. And in that SRJC case, they developed these key assumptions about group study needs, electronic resources being adaptable, a big commitment to sustainability.
And those assumptions drove the whole program.
They became the foundation, yeah.
Yeah.
And it gets incredibly granular, the example of the supervisor's office, listing square footage, number of chairs, shelving, even the lighting type.
That really paints a picture, doesn't it? That level of detail.
It ensures the architect knows exactly what's needed for every single space. Once that program's done, then the architect can really start designing. Which brings us to hiring the architect. The chapter mentions that usually happens during or at the end of feasibility.
Yeah, seems like it. How do owners typically find and pick an architect?
Several ways mentioned. Word of mouth is big, obviously. Looking for specialists, someone who does homes or commercial or maybe historic buildings.
Right.
Owners often interview multiple firms, see who clicks, whose vision aligns, whose working style fits.
It's like finding a partner for a major undertaking.
It really is. And for huge projects, like the World Trade Center Memorial example, they might even hold design competitions.
Ah, right. To get lots of ideas.
Exactly. Or sometimes they invite a select few to compete. It's a more formal way to explore different concepts. And, like we touched on, the architect's specific services, all spelled out in the contract.
Okay, so we've defined the what in programming. We've got the architect on board. Now comes the how, the design phase. What's the core goal here?
Design is where the architect takes the lead. They translate that owner's vision, detailed in the program, into something buildable.
But it's not just about the vision, is it? There are constraints.
Oh, absolutely. They have to work within the budget, deal with the specific site conditions, follow all of the building codes and regulations, juggle all these factors.
Sounds complex. The chapter stresses a lot of back-and-forth communication with the owner here.
Essential, constant dialogue. The architect studies the program, researches codes, proposes solutions, creates drawings, writes descriptions.
And the owner gives feedback.
Yep. It's iterative. The design evolves through that conversation, and breaking it down into phases, schematic, development, final, isn't just for show, it's smart.
How so?
It lets you increase the detail gradually, get approvals at each stage. It minimizes wasted work if you need to change the course early on.
Yes,
Makes
yeah.
sense, right?
Yeah, definitely. Okay, so the chapter breaks the design into 3 distinct phases, getting more detailed each time. What are they again?
First is schematic design, then design development, and finally, final design, which gives you the construction documents.
Got it. Let's start with schematic design. What's happening there? I saw something about bubble diagrams.
Ah, yes. Schematic is broad strokes, big picture stuff. The architect figures out the overall shape, the basic layout. They analyze alternatives. Bubble diagrams, like the one shown for the SRJC library, hypothetically.
Figures 7.6.
Right. Those are super early abstract drawings, just circles showing how spaces relate. Kitchen bubble, near dining bubble. It's about the fundamental organization, the flow.
So more about connections than exact dimensions or materials at this point.
Exactly. By the end of schematic, owner and architect should agree on a general floor plan. They'll make initial calls on major materials, systems, and crucially, get a first rough cost estimate.
And if the cost is too high.
You adjust the design. That's the time to do it. You can see the evolution in the SRJC example from that abstract bubble diagram to the more defined schematic plan in figure 7.7, where you see actual spaces like the copy center, the circulation desk.
Okay, makes sense. Broad strokes agreed upon. Then we move to design development. What's the focus now?
Design development, or DD, is about refining that approved schematic design, getting more specific.
How so?
Well, the architect details the forms more, the structure, the building systems, HVAC, electrical, plumbing. Floor plans get more precise, elevations too. Specific construction details start getting worked out.
And materials.
Yes, this is where many product and material selections happen. And they start writing outline specifications, basic descriptions of materials and quality. The budget also gets sharper, more refined.
The SRJC library example mentioned some real changes during DD, didn't it? Like swapping the copy center for a cafe, reorienting a staircase.
Exactly. That shows the design becoming much more concrete. Those changes address function, flow, the actual experience of being in the space. By the end of DD, you're maybe 60% done with the design.
Okay, nearly 2/3 there, which leads to the final phase, final design. resulting in construction documents. This sounds like where it all comes together.
It is. This is 100% completion of the design. It's producing the detailed package, the construction documents that contractors will use to actually build the thing.
Now, the chapter spends some time on drawings specifically, obviously essential. But it mentions 4 basic types.
Right. 4 main types help communicate everything: plans, elevations, sections, and details.
Okay. Plans are the top-down view, right? Horizontal slices, like the
Yeah.
SRJC main floor plan in Figure 7.2, showing walls, rooms, the entrance.
Correct. Site plans, foundation plans, floor plans, roof plans, they show the layout horizontally. Elevations are different. They're straight-on views.
Like looking at the outside walls.
Exactly. North, south, east, west exterior views, but also key interior walls, like the hallway elevation in Figure 7.3. It gives you that vertical perspective.
Got it. And sections, those are vertical slices through the building.
Yep. Imagine cutting down through the roof, floors, right to the foundation. Figure 7.4 gives an idea. Sections show how it all fits together vertically, the structure dimensions inside.
And they're cross-referenced. I saw mention of numbered symbols on the plans.
Crucial for clarity. A symbol on the plan points you to the specific section drawing showing that cut, or to a detailed drawing, which brings us to the 4th type, details.
Details?
Yeah.
Like zoomed-in views.
Exactly. Blown-up drawings of specific connections or components, how a window fits in the wall, how rebar is placed in concrete, the flashing around a skylight like in Figure 7.5. It's the really fine-grained stuff.
So these drawings get progressively more detailed as design moves forward, from sketches to, well, complex instructions. The chapter also notes the shift to computers CAD and BIM. Quick refresher on those.
Sure. CAD is computer-aided design. Basically, drawing with software instead of by hand. BIM is building information modeling. That's a step further.
How so?
It creates a 3D digital model of the entire building, packed with information. Not just lines, but intelligent objects representing walls, doors, pipes. It's powerful for visualization, coordination, managing the project. But whether it's CAD, BIM, or even still hand-drawn sometimes, the goal's the same. Communicate the design clearly.
Okay, but construction documents aren't just drawings, are they? They're also specifications. What role do they play?
Specs. Hugely important. They're the written part that complements the drawings. Drawings show what to build and where the geometry dimensions.
And specs tell you.
Specs tell you the quality of materials, the required workmanship, the processes to follow. Think of it like this. The drawing shows a concrete wall.
Okay.
The specification details the exact concrete mix designed, how long it needs to cure, what strength it must reach, the type of finish required. It's the recipe, the quality control instructions.
Got it. So drawings are the picture, specs are the detailed instructions. The chapter gave examples like concrete curing, specific carpet brands, door hardware manufacturers, really precise stuff.
Exactly. They leave no room for ambiguity, ideally. Everyone, contractor, subs, suppliers, knows the exact standard required for every single element. Drawings and specs together are the heart of the construction documents.
And there are other written parts too, besides specs.
Yes. The chapter mentions other key documents defining the business side of things, the rights and responsibilities of the owner and contractor.
Like the contract stuff.
Pretty much. Timelines, how change orders are handled, payment schedules, what happens if there are delays or disputes. It forms the basis of the legal agreement.
Okay. And just before we wrap this section, bidding documents were mentioned briefly. How do they fit in?
Right at the end of design, the architect pulls together the bidding documents. That package includes the construction drawings and specifications, plus other forms and instructions needed for contractors to figure out their price to submit their bid for the job.
So after all this feasibility, then programming, then the whole design process, the owner finally has this complete package, describing exactly what's to be built, how, and to what quality. Ready to hire a contractor.
Precisely. It might seem like a long road, all that programming and design work, but it's absolutely fundamental. It lays the groundwork for actually getting the project built successfully.
So, bringing it all together then, we've traced the path from a basic idea through owner-led programming, defining the what, then into architect-led design, figuring out the how, which culminates in those detailed construction documents.
Yep, all following that initial go decision after feasibility. It gets the owner to the point where they can confidently bring a builder on board.
It's a critical and definitely iterative journey, defining needs, translating them into buildable plans.
And you can really see how all that detailed upfront work is just essential. It helps avoid costly mistakes, misunderstandings, all sorts of problems later during construction, a good program, and a thorough design. That paves the way for a much smoother build.
It really makes you think, doesn't it? I mean, step back from construction for a second. Consider how clearly defining your goals, understanding all the steps involved, how that would impact any big project you take on.
Absolutely.
What parallels can you draw to things you do? The big insight here, really, is the power of that structured planning, nailing down the what before you get lost in the how.
That principle works everywhere, doesn't it? Planning a career move, launching a side hustle, even just organizing a big family event.
Yeah. How does that idea resonate with you, the listener? Moving
Mm.
from the what to the how, definitely something to chew on. And hey, if this sparked your interest, there are tons of resources out there on project management, architectural processes, worth exploring.
For sure. Well, thanks for taking this deep dive with us.